So one question with regards to your personal journey, which we're talking about, and your healing in particular, how does one deal with having to take someone's life? And how do you heal from that?
Right. I'm not sure if I'll ever heal completely from it. I did carry this burden, though, very, very strongly for most of my life. And that was the purpose, for me to carry that, because I couldn't speak out. For example, the strongest reason, one of the strongest reasons why, was not so much because I would be killed, but it was because I thought that I would be called out as a perpetrator, because I felt that I was, because at 11 years old, I was given the choice, and I had taken a life. So I had obviously worked in therapy. I had heard some good people tell me that I was a victim too. And I didn't believe it. I wanted to believe them, but I didn't believe it. So it wasn't until 2013, writing about the experience again, and I suddenly put it together. There were certain little things that were missing from the memory. And in particular, what I remembered is what I had always done in the network, that I'd always thought about the way to do the action that I was made to do, that I knew it wasn't a choice. I was made to do it in the way that would cause the least harm. And then in this situation, that least harm meant that I should kill her. And I realized that it wasn't the guilt. I had a guilt complex. I lived with this vast guilt complex that everything that I ever did or said, I always went back and thought I must have done something wrong in it. So it's not introspection, it's a guilt complex, just constantly going back over every little interaction. I couldn't really function very well because I was always, somebody wouldn't call back and I would worry that I'd done something to upset them, and I would maybe even ask them and they'd maybe say, no, not at all, it has nothing to do with you, basically.
Yeah.
But that just hung over my life like a cloud for most of, so 13 I was, it was right before, I was 49. It was right before my 50th birthday. So from 11 to 49, I had this tremendous guilt complex. And then when I fully understood that, so I had to internally believe it, So once that happens, it was the birth, I call it the birth of self-esteem. When I knew that it's not my fault. But to take a life, I did that anyway, I went through that action of taking that life. I think of this girl every day. I know what she looked like. I haven't felt anything or anything, but I think of her every day, and I am thinking of small ways, rituals to honor the children that were killed in the network. The ones that I saw and ones that I didn't see.
And what of your experience, let's say your spiritual experience of having heard some confirmation that she is safe at that time?
That's a different realm.
Yeah.
So, yes, in that moment, I wanted to know, I heard that then. So it's, the spiritual in that sense, it's separate as long as we're in the body and working out. You just have to work That's psychology, and
Yeah.
go back and really know it by feeling it.
Right.
So I don't feel guilty today about it. I actually feel that because of that experience, I understand killers. I understand how they would become addicted to that moment.
Right.
I understand it, and I understand the projection. I understand the So this girl, when I struck, she wasn't that girl at all. So in the biggest sense, you have to dissociate and you have to project onto the victim in order to do what you do. So that had been done to me, but now I was doing it, and so she wasn't that girl at all. She was my mother, and then she was me at the essence of it. I was killing myself. And that insanity is necessary to kill. Whether it's a person or whether it's an animal, usually. To take a life, you have to dissociate. You have to get away, from your feelings of empathy.
Right.
You have to get in hunter mode, which is the system, kind of hunter-prey mode.
Yeah.
And in the smallest sense, judgment, victim identification, how I was in the place of the victim, and I was really inhabiting that space of my victimization. And it's this victim identification that is the first prerequisite to cause harm. That the moment you think you're the victim, you're actually setting up to harm someone else, because it removes all responsibility from you,
Right.
and you have no accountability at that moment. And so in the smallest sense, it happens through judgment. And I'm not talking like I'm above all of this, by the way. I'm experiencing this all the time, but I'm always looking at it in the smallest sense. Judgment. There's a judgment. I have to, judgment is maybe too different. But the moment somebody does something to me, like driving on the road, and I feel like they're victimizing me, I used to just feel like a victim and be angry, for getting cut off or whatever,
Yeah.
And now, I dealt with that problem somewhat. I'm not such an angry driver anymore. But what I realize is, if I feel like a victim, I just start to think, oh, there must be some young part in me
Yeah.
that is actually trying to express something.
Now you have healing triggers.
Yes.
When something happens,
Yeah.
and it snaps you into consciousness rather than snapping you into unconsciousness.
Nice way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. To bring the healing consciousness to the trigger, rather. The trigger is there, and then a little bit later comes, oh, but...
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a very satisfying way to start to deal with those things that happen on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And self-esteem really is necessary for introspection. So it's tricky, because if you don't have the self-esteem, you're just going to either beat yourself up. It's not really doable without self-esteem, so it's tricky. It's always tricky.
Right. And we're living in a world where our fellow human beings and ourselves are always in need of feeling better about ourselves. And so if we can be aware of that, just be aware of how powerful it is when you judge someone, and how powerful it is when you make someone feel like they're okay the way they are, and they're perfect the way they are. How powerful that is, and that's one of the things that we can, any day, any time, with any person, we can just activate that.
Absolutely.
And feel like we're part of this great thing that's happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
To listen, and then also reflect. You listen to me, but then you also reflect, so that I know that you actually understand what I'm talking about, even though I also feel that you understand me because you're already open. You know, there's an energy, a vibration.
Now, tell me about this group that you've started and how you're kind of, in a very special and very specific way, bringing this critical awareness to some people.
Yes, so I've been in support groups for a long time for sexual abuse, but then satanic ritual abuse is very specific. And I started to meet in the group for sexual abuse, started to meet survivors of satanic ritual abuse. And as I was, I came to the group with a lot of years under my belt, and then I had a lot of help from the support group as well. And then, so I started to work with survivors of satanic ritual abuse. And then after my video went viral, people reached out to me from all over the world. So that resulted finally in now a WhatsApp group that I moderate, that I run for survivors of satanic ritual abuse. So this has been an incredible experience, because I always thought that there were no other people, that there would be no other people alive. But then as I was saying before, we were pitted against each other, and we couldn't really befriend anyone, because we couldn't openly befriend anyone, because that got punished, or if we try to protect someone, we got punished for it.
Yeah.
So now I find that this group, not only the things that are described are as horrific as some of the things that you heard, and worse. You know, there's certain things that I had a relatively short time in the network,
right,
compared to others. I never got pregnant. I was too young. I was out before I could get pregnant.
right.
And even in, you know, I haven't of course told you everything, but I went through some horrific things. Well, there are people who've gone through things that, you know, are different, and, you know, so things that you could never dream of. And yet, the vibration of the group, there is this incredible sweetness, first of all, incredible strength, and for each person, I think it's the first one. There are groups of survivors of satanic ritual abuse, but not the specific support format that I know. There's actually, in fact, a conference. But you always have to worry when something is very public, how it gets infiltrated, and
Yeah.
How safe it then is at the end of the day. So I moderate, and there's definitely safety guidelines. And so people get to share, and then get this experience reflected by someone who's been through it. So when people were telling me that it was not my fault because I was made to kill, and they were telling me, no, it was not your fault, well, I didn't believe them.
Right.
But when I say it to someone who's been through it as a child, and they were made to kill, and they're carrying that, well, I know I've been through it, and I can tell them it was not their fault, and I can go into the specifics, and they can really believe it.
Yeah.
And to have our experiences, first of all, it tells me most everyone is younger than me. So they're of the new generations. So I can tell you that the people currently in power are just as involved in these extremely dark actions as were the people from my generation that, you know, were ruling in the 70s and 80s, world rulers, white men though, only, and certain white women. I'm sure that it happens in other cultures, but not, I never came across anyone from other cultures. And the tactics employed are what we've been through and the specific tortures that we endured, that you would never think anyone could think up. Seems to be just right out of a handbook. It's really quite amazing. We've all been through the same things. And for all of us, we're finding this reflection on this big level for the first time. And there's no one telling us what to do, because we've all been through it.
Yeah.
And the healing from that, I think, is exponential. We heal, I've healed. Sometimes I realize things fall into place for me. I understand things from the network perspective that I didn't understand before, or the reason for why a certain torture was done. And it's beautiful. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do it. So this is what most precious to me right now.
Right.
And what is the most amazing thing to me is that everyone there is this understand. It's like we get to now be the children that we wanted to be. We get to help each other, and we get to support each other, and we get to tell each other that we've always been on each other's side.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's so beautiful, so beautiful.
I was going to say that, having had the courage to go through your healing journey and having that giving its own satisfaction, now additionally you're bringing to these other people your experience, your empathy, your compassion, and
they're bringing it to me.
Right?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
all there, but
yeah.
So it's a shared sort of journey.
Yeah.
Where your courage, each person's courage, is being rewarded here, and it's almost like must be like feeling like you're home. It's like this is
completely.
Yeah.
Very much home. And then somebody posted a picture the other day. Oh, it's so funny, of a unicorn looking at an article that says that unicorns don't exist, and here's the proof. Oh, that's how we feel.
That's something. So that's done online.
It's on the phones, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And is that a? I don't know WhatsApp. I know WhatsApp, but that's a messaging, and it's just
yeah.
A message.
So it's small now. It's WhatsApp, but eventually I think it will become a group.
Yeah.
We have to always consider safety, because when we're going to meet in person, there's always a safety implication. I don't think you can say, well, let's just all meet here. There's this network is dangerous, and we have to be careful. So there's certain safety measures in place for the group. Of course, we never can expect that no one's looking in.
Yeah.
But we have our ways to stay safe.
Great. Okay, so now maybe we can talk about this network.
Yeah.
In the time we have left, and with the intention of making people more aware of what's going on in the world, and a bit more about the structure of power in the world.
Yeah.
And also I'd like to get your sense about, are things changing now, or do you feel things are the same, or do you feel something's changing? Do you feel that their power is starting to slip away, things like that?
Well, you said before that we couldn't maybe have had this interview
That's
5 years ago.
Absolutely right.
So things are definitely changing, and for me the change has been so refreshing from 30 years ago, when I couldn't even say that I had been sexually abused, really. Well, no, I could, but it was, the powers that be, especially in the media. I would read so many articles in very well established in magazines that I wanted to very much like, because I was considered. I think I'm more left leaning, because my perpetrators happen to be a lot of right-wing politicians, but they are definitely from both sides. There's no sides when we get up. It's like up versus down, not left versus right.
Yeah.
So the American perpetrator gave me a good glimpse, because he was a social engineer. He was not himself a politician, but he controlled politicians.
Okay.
He controlled one of the, at least one of the presidents, probably more than one.
So social engineer, and maybe people don't quite know what exactly
Yeah,
that
so
means.
this was someone from one of the families, everyone would recognize their last name.
Okay.
One of the very, known philanthropic families. So born into it. And social engineer is that he was working very hard. He was working behind the scenes mostly to put out an agenda, a dark agenda that, I don't know the history of it very well, but I'm sure it links, I've heard it links back to the Vatican. That makes a lot of sense. It links back over centuries, and that there is some sense that you can be born into it, or you can try to sort of grow into it and make your way to the top. And that's part of the structure, that the more you rise, the more you have to give up of your integrity, and the more you are definitely going to be bought as you rise. So there is no way to rise to the top without being completely compromised, and the higher you are, the more compromised you are.
Right.
So the difficulty is for beloved figures. There's like these political figures, very beloved, and you have to start to think about, because they were not there by accident. And there is no real democracy. This is being engineered. So the idea that you have any choice when you're voting for two people anyway is just, to me, completely insane. But the idea that you can make a difference with voting has been proven so many times to be wrong. And yet there's been I've noticed since the shooting in Florida, the high school shooting in Florida, I've noticed a very strong push towards getting everybody to believe in voting again. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's been a lot of messages using children to put those messages out that you should vote.
I see them from
you
time to time.
have your power
now.
through your vote.
Yeah.
That's been really prevalent. So, because the truth is that you make no difference whatsoever by voting. None. That's not your power.
Except that you're saying you're going along with the system.
Yes.
By voting.
You're
right?
going along with the system by voting. And the system has been set up. It's not a democracy. This is not a democracy. So if, I heard a Hollywood mogul talk about the democracy. It's not a democracy. It's a satanic group of people who, I want to speak from personal experience, so my sense was that they felt entitled. I've seen some strange things, but mostly I felt what the arrogance was maybe the most prevalent characteristic, that all the people who were involved in this were extremely arrogant. And I think humility is like the most, if you don't have self-esteem, you can't be humble, because then you're going to feel humiliated. So if you don't have self-esteem, you need to prove. So I know that from experience. So arrogance, again, is like a pointer that you have pain that hasn't been felt, that hasn't been resolved. So these people were the most arrogant, and they felt entitled both by blood, by the birth, and they worshipped Satan. They gave sacrifices to Satan. The children were sacrificed to Satan. So that's the thinking behind it. But I think it's actually something else. I think there is this religion and the history and the rituals and so forth. But I always felt what's really going on a psychological level is that these people are killing a part of themselves, and they need to keep putting that into manifestation to feel that they can live. So there are these parts of this religion, it's a belief that involve working on longevity in your body, staying here, like, you know, like this is it, I'm not going anywhere.
While you're in power, while you've got power. So.
Yeah, don't lose it. Don't
hey,
lose
if I
your...
die, I'm gonna have to be humble, you know, and I'll just be like one of everybody else.
Well, if you have no concept of yourself, then you cannot believe that you can exist after death. Your body is the final reality, even though you're working with psychically, you're working with vibrations and energies and so forth, but not the awareness that after you die, you can also still exist as an entity, as yourself, as a consciousness in a different form. So it comes, for me, the essence is fear. It's fear. It's all fear-based.
Yeah.
And it's the fear of a small child, again. I just see small children. So I was raped by about 200 men in that time, in those 5 years. And never an exception that the person who came there was a young boy who was asking me to give him the love that he didn't get. Whether that was by being a mother by taking on the dirt, or whether it was a mother by giving affection. Whatever they were asking me to do, it was always coming from a very young part. And I always felt older than them.
And you were probably a year or two older than who they were projecting out. Right?
Well, I had probably had a little more love than them to be able to actually be emotionally a little bit older than them.
Yeah.
Although I was, you know, probably in certain ways much older and in other ways much younger than my age. Obviously, many parts would not have really developed.
Right. I have to say, I find it amazing in your story about how you make us understand the child and how prevalent childhood experience, then the nature of seeing things through a child's eyes is so prevalent in this power structure.
Yes.
It's like
ignoring the child.
Yeah, like
to ignore the child. That's weakness. Ignore the weakness. And it infiltrates everything. I mean, the brainwashing systems, again, if we believe that people in authority can actually make a change, you know, it's naive to think that anyone, to look at the world today and to know what's going on, more or less, with all the warfare that's going on that we do know about, and then all the warfare that we're not being told about.
right.
All the suffering that exists, people still dying of hunger for no reason at all.
Yeah.
The earth being completely exploited to a point of, you know, near extinction of the earth. Like the earth is hurting. And this kind of greed that is at the bottom of this, the greed is like a toddler who wants the toys, right? Who wants all the toys. It's not more than that.
Not more than that.
No.
No. You're absolutely right. It's not more than that.
Because even a 10-year-old would be wiser than that. 10-year-old emotionally.
Wow. If we put 10-year-olds as leaders of the world, we'd be in better shape.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Who were emotionally their age.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our leaders are emotionally infantile. But they're very smart. And that actually is trying to balance out for this lack, this, you know, that psychopaths are very sick, and we've all been injected by that sickness. We've all been taught not to feel. Growing up is a lot about not feeling, and the sensitive people, you know, have a hard time, right, in the world, and that's true.
Absolutely.
But it's actually not true, because the more you feel, the more you're in touch with everything, and so that actually brings great strength in the end.
Yeah, no, sure, but as you say, the sensitive people are being told by everything they see and look at that, you know, they don't really fit
Right.
into this
They're
world.
the losers.
They're losers. They're not moving up fast enough. Or Bill Gates will say, you don't work hard enough, you know, and you're going to be bad for our society because, you know, we need workers and we need
Well, they need
slaves.
workers.
That's what
They
I
need
mean.
workers. I don't know how many hours a day we really need to work. But that's another thing.
That's
like we
another-
all go to work for
Yeah.
to feed this hungry beast that is
Beast.
the infantile, little boy that can never be. It's emptiness inside,
Yeah.
and the emptiness is ignorance. That's ignorance of the self, ignorance of the true nature of the self, which is not physical.
So let's talk about what we're noticing about this particular moment in history
Yes,
in terms of
gladly.
Things changing.
Yes, I will tell you from, so Yogananda is my teacher, and his guru wrote a little essay about the yugas, which are,
Eons of time.
yes, but they're not eons actually. That's
Okay.
the current interpretation of the Hindus is that it's very, very long, but he says that was actually a mistake from the Kali Yuga, from the Dark Ages. So he has a book called The Holy Science that's available from Self-Realization Fellowship. It's a short book. It is a book about comparing scriptures and showing how the physical world comes into manifestation. So it may take a while to wrap your head around it, or to wrap your whole being around it. But the introduction to that little book, The Holy Science, is about the yugas being 24,000-year cycles, with the shortest being the Dark Ages, 1,000 years. And based on the concept of this realm of duality, where everything needs an opposite, that our solar system, also our sun, also has a star that is its opposite. And there is a magnetic center in the universe that we either are drawing towards or moving away from.
Right.
Whereas the opposite is going the other direction. So according to his calculations, we would be having left the Kali Yuga, which was the Dark Ages, when man was not able to comprehend anything but matter. And this has given rise to all the discoveries, this electricity and so forth, and 1700. And then those years, so in the spiritual sense, it is that we've entered this new age, and that this new age is an age of higher awareness, and an age where selfishness has no place. The matter-bound self is that little boy, you know, who has only his own body and nothing but the physical reality, whereas we know that that's not all there is, that there's... So to go back to the unity of humankind, that it's time to unite as human beings, and to move out of this sort of mastodont of an old power structure, which is just trying to hold on and kind of gripping right now. I think a lot of the shifts that we're seeing, a lot of the more and more is being revealed.
Yeah.
More and more of the warfare is also being revealed, and I think this is a momentous time, because if there is this possibility, not to fearmonger, but I think there is this possibility that if we don't wake up, that things have to just get a lot worse, that people will have to literally be smacked down to the ground and suffer great, great losses to get back to the essence of what life is all about. And that if we just remain in this brainwashing and remain just ignorant of our privilege and ignorant of what it means to be privileged and how we cannot use privilege and not connect to those below us, and not, reaching down is like service, is like the best thing to just immediately do something.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go into the jails and prisons and serve there and get over your prejudice.
I was, it's funny because when I heard that you were working in prisons, I just automatically got this idea of the pyramid, right?
Yeah.
And the power is supposedly up there where people are all reaching to, and you're reaching down here.
Reaching down.
To serve, and that's where the real power is, right? And that's where you can make such a big difference for people.
That's where the real power is?
Well, in the sense of the people are open, people will be open to being connected.
Yes.
And they'll have the humility which is required. The meek shall inherit the earth. So that's what I mean by the real power.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And
the real power.
Gotcha. The feeling of going into prisons and seeing people there, and almost for me saying, you people, we know you people shouldn't be in prison.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
We should be celebrating your lives, and we should be taking all your experiences and getting some wisdom and insight from them, and just flipping the whole thing around.
Right. Right. With the reality of some, of course, people who are there because they have done things, but again, always coming from this place of trauma, so that I'm not saying that certain people shouldn't be part of society. There are maybe ways to remove certain people, or if someone is a relentless pedophile, well, obviously he shouldn't be in society. That doesn't mean he has to be in a dirty prison.
Right.
That it's just that to remove a person like that with the giving them a chance to heal also, which, this is a big debate, but, that's why I wanted to go there, because there's people who, I know about the guilt, and I know how hard it was for me to get back to a beginning of self-esteem after, in this situation when I was a child. So just imagine that you do that in your adult life. Much harder to get back to your innocence.
Yeah.
But it's possible.
Yeah.
It's difficult for psychopaths, but even for psychopaths it's possible.
Do you get a feeling that, despite, the trauma and the getting into psychopathy, that there is a part of us that's indestructible? It's there, it'll always be there, and it's a question of the person connecting with it, ultimately seeing it's there somewhere inside.
It is there for everyone. The light's in everyone.
Yeah.
Now, how far that's covered, let's just say that someone like my mother, I don't expect that she'll ever be able to contact her light. And many of the people that abused me, it's not that I wouldn't wish it for them,
right,
but I don't expect it just because they've gone so far over the deep end. They've caused so much harm. At first you'd have to roll all of that back.
Well, but so if we take a bigger picture and say, in the reincarnation of souls and coming back and having the capacity to deal with the trauma, ultimately, at some point, we're all going to come together as one, right?
We are one.
That's our journey.
We already are one.
Yeah.
That's the thing, but we'd have to know it. We have to learn to know that. So I'm one with my perpetrators. It's hard to say that. But that is a truth that is there that I'm reaching for. And energetically, so I think another thing, another way in which we are not so helpless is to be able to use thought as a vibration, as an energy, I send light to the worst abusers. I visualize them in the light. I also visualize my group, the group of survivors that I work with, I visualize the children that are suffering today in all the networks, which are probably many, many, many children. So I do these visualizations of light, and I think that it's the next level, that if we can change our thoughts, and if we can really recognize that everyone has light in them, even if we can't see it, and even if they can't see it, even if they can never access it, that it's there. That may be a good place to start. And sending light, I couldn't, for the longest time, I couldn't send light to my abusers. So I wasn't going to do it then, but I do it now. I send them light because I know that they need it more than anybody.
And you see them as they are now?
Not quite.
Not quite.
No. No, I'm not there. I still give him a little bit of power sometimes. But closer.
Yeah, but that's the healing journey, right?
Yeah.
And you've come a long way.
I've come somewhere.
So I want to thank you so much for speaking with me today and speaking to our audience today. And I think what you have to say is been of great value, is going to continue to be of great value, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, I want to thank you for coming here and for being thorough and serious and valuing my voice and my story.
It's my pleasure.
Well, that's it for Anneke's story, and it truly is one that is one of the most horrific yet healing stories that you'll ever hear. What Anneke went through as a child is almost unimaginable, from the sexual abuse to nearly being killed to being forced to witness murder. Yet what I find incredibly inspiring about Anneke's story is that she isn't stuck in victimhood. She's not living in fear or seeking revenge. She's found peace by understanding the role these experiences played in her life and what they reveal about humanity as a whole. Her story is especially relevant now, of course, as we're learning about a lot of these darker aspects of our world and what happens behind power and institutions. And while anger is natural for responding to all of what we're learning about, and it does need to be processed, staying perpetually angry about all of this will only give our power away. Of course, that's another important part of Anneke's message. Anneke's journey is proof that real change, the change that we want to see, the change that we know can build a better world, does start within. And she's now teaching a lot of what she's learned and gained from these experiences that she's had to people in prisons. She teaches people through courses and also through her yoga practice. She's helping people move through their own traumas and finding a place of healing within themselves, which is a key foundation in how we're going to create a better world. So thanks to Anneke for sharing her story with such courage, including details she hadn't shared anywhere else before this interview. And thanks to all of you for watching.